amazingly peaceful scene, just sitting next to a lovely big herd of elephants and watching them feed. That time it was grass, and it looks like Eragrostis. I didn't have a good look before it gets wolfed down, and it looked like one of the Eragrostises, one of the love grasses. See, elephants don't like eating dust either. They try to clean all the sand and grit off the food before they eat it. Obviously they will get a fair amount of that dust and sand and grit without even realizing, and that would also play a part in the wearing down of their teeth. Hi Ramey, welcome on the Sunset Safari, Ramey. Ramey would like to know if there's on the decibel development, so what frequency the communications are in, and some of those decibels are very, very low and we cannot hear them, Ramey. I know there's been quite a lot of study on elephant decibels. I can't remember offhand what the lowest decibel that's been recorded. So maybe if you guys could have a look online and check that for me, who can find out what the lowest decibel recording an elephant's been recorded making, and you can answer the question at WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live when you're on Twitter. So if you listen carefully, you can actually hear that quite a lot of elephants around us. In the distance, you can hear branches breaking and just general. Hi Darren, welcome on the Sunset Safari, Darren. Sharon, sorry. Sharon, because we've been discussing teeth and the gremlins are in my radio, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing some of the stuff coming through. We do apologize for that, but we are in a very low area and we'd rather stay with the elephants and give you these amazing animals up close and suffer through me making a few mistakes with the names, so we can bring you these amazing animals. Sharon wants to know, since we've been discussing teeth quite in depth, just hang on a minute, what is that gun doing? Just trying to see what that's feeding on. It looks like it's going for more sedge, so focusing on the plant species that have still quite a bit of greenery in them, so therefore quite a bit of moisture and nutrients. So Sharon would like to know about elephants' teeth. What happens to them? Do they just wear down, or they move through? So Sharon, they've got 6 sets of teeth. They're quite big teeth, and what happens is they will move through from the back through to the front, and they will actually be pushed through, but by the time it gets to the stage that they are pushed out, they are almost completely worn down, and you do find elephant teeth in the bush, but generally that will be from that last set of teeth when they've died, unless they've died of something else when they're a bit younger. Hi, Ellen from Arkansas. Ellen has actually asked an incredibly interesting question that I do not know the answer to. Ellen would like to know, do baby elephants share the same teething problems as sort of humans, babies do, and do they use similar grinding motions and whatnot to try to deal with the pain? Ellen, I actually am not 100% sure. I don't know. So maybe you guys out there can help me with that, and find out how an elephant teethes with its first set of tusks, and if there is quite a lot of pain related to that. You can send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So unfortunately, these elephants are starting to move away from us. We will stay in the spot while we can still see them, but there is a possibility we're not going to have the best visuals in the next few minutes. And we are precariously balanced atop a termite mound to try beat off the gremlins. And the sun's starting to dip below the horizon, and there's some wonderful golden light just peeping through. Hi, Lynn from New Hampshire. Welcome on this sunset safari, full of elephants at the moment. Lynn would like to know, why do elephants flick their food back and forth like that? Is it possibly to remove the dirt? Lynn, that is exactly what it is. As most of us know, it's probably very unpleasant to have a mouthful of dirt and grit. So that is definitely why they would shake it off to try remove that, to make it a little bit more pleasant to eat. So as we can see, we've now lost sight of almost all the elephants, and we can just hear them feeding off in the distance around us. There's the last one we can see at the moment. Hi, Miss Jin from Dallas in the Lone Star State. Miss Jin would like to know how elephants select what they're feeding off, and would it be by sight or smell? I think smell would be the more predominant feature in what they were selecting, what they were going to be feeding off. So smell definitely more than sight, and their sense of smell is so incredible. That we would be able to, they'd be able to smell 1,000 things we would never be able to smell. Oh, hello. So we've just had a little visitor land next to me, just over my shoulder there. A little fork-tailed drongo. But it's been really, really great sitting with these elephants. Unfortunately, we've lost visual of most of them now, and if we move the vehicle, we're going to lose signal. And you'll notice that we've had this little drongo next to us, and almost every elephant sighting, or actually for that matter large mammal sighting we have, whether it be zebras, sometimes it's impalas, there are drongos around. And drongos are quite smart birds, and what they do is they use the other animals as they disturb the insects as they walk through the grass. The drongo is there to take advantage of that and try pick up on any insects. And especially at this time of year, while it's cold and dry, there are a lot less insects than say in the summer months. So they are taking advantage of the fact that the animals disturbing the insects as they move. So you will see drongos around a lot of large mammal sightings. They also use the cars sometimes. If we're driving through the grass, they'll follow the cars waiting for us to disturb an insect. And I just spotted a little duiker that's crept out after the elephants have passed. I don't know if you can come around. You see that little leadwood there? There she is, or he is. I can't see if it's he or a she just yet. Well, thank you very much, Elise, for that information. Elise said they do go through a teething process that is quite painful and can actually cause cysts and infections and even death if the animal's not in good condition. And then Ginny's asked about elephant teeth. And I've got quite a nice little thing about elephant teeth. I'm just going to grab it for you guys. About what age an elephant first get their teeth. And there we go. I'll find it for you in a second. And you can see that beautiful skyline and that cold front moving in. So so they get their first set of teeth, their sort of first set of adult teeth, when they are about a year old, and then that first set of teeth doesn't last very long. It is quite small and stuff, and it's while they're growing. Obviously they don't need that big set of teeth, so it's replaced quite quickly in the second year. And then the third set of teeth comes in when they're about 6 years old, so that second set of teeth lasts a little bit longer. And their fourth set of teeth lasts from when they're about 6 to 15 years old, so 9 years. And then their fifth set of teeth last nearly 30 years. And then that last set of teeth come in when they're almost about 50, from about 28 to 50 is that 50 is the last set of teeth. And after that, once that last set of teeth is gone, that is when they start losing condition. So between sort of, as soon as they start getting mid-50s to 60s, they really start dropping condition, and that is when certain predators in certain areas like lions will take advantage of that. But quite often elephants, one of the only animals out here that will die of old age, just because they are so big, and they do live in that complex family structure that even if an animal is quite ill and whatnot, for a few days or even a week, the herd will stay around while that animal dies. Okay, so we're going to try and move out of this terrible signal area at the moment and see if we can get up and find something else. But it's been really great that we actually have been able to stay with these elephants for as long as we had. So we're going to pass you back to Commander Bond, and hopefully he's been behaving himself, and we'll be back with you a little later in the show.
Standing by. Hello everybody, welcome back to Djuma. We have failed to find anything in the way of mammal life this afternoon, for which I must apologize. Not much we can do. We've driven the place flat. Check the hyena den. The hyenas are inside their burrow, hiding away from the chill. And everything else is doing likewise, it would seem. We're in an area now where there was some animals alarm calling around lunchtime. We're hoping that perhaps a leopard or something will pop out. But despite the extreme lack of mammal life, there is an absolutely astonishing sky developing. And I'm going to go just onto quarantine clearings and see if we can't get a nice view of it. While we drive up there, I believe you were asking some questions about dentition in elephants and whether or not young elephants develop pain when they teeth. like humans do. My brother has two young boys, both of whom have had dreadful trouble with their teething, so I know exactly what you mean. All I know about that is that when elephants, I'm sure there must be an element of pain because they're mammals like we are, and I mean their teeth are, excuse me while we go past the pump, their teeth are, you know, erupt much the same as ours do. They have milk teeth, so I'm sure there must be an element of pain. Now what I have seen once is an elephant that had lost its tusk, and they were specifically they were pulling leaves off a Combretum apiculatum bush and pushing them into the hole, and repeatedly doing it. They're clearly in huge discomfort, and so perhaps there is some kind of analgesic effect in that tree that they know about and that they use. And maybe if a baby elephant is feeling teething pain, maybe the adults will hand it a piece of Combretum apiculatum or red bush willow, and that might then help with the pain. I'm not sure, I'm guessing here, but I think that animals, especially animals like elephants, probably are aware of the medicinal properties of some of the trees out here, and I'm sure they do use them. Right, we're getting a spectacular amount of sky there. We're just going to pan slowly across to it. Oh. So this is the one thing that these fronts do give us, are spectacular clouds and skies. Hello, Tony from Holland. You have been lucky enough to come out on safari to South Africa, and you were given a Mopani worm. A Mopani worm, for those of you who don't know, is the caterpillar of an emperor moth. Now, and the moth is about that big, and the caterpillar is about that big, and it is a very important form of protein for people out here, especially in these communities where you know, money is hard to come by, and people don't eat a lot of meat because it's difficult to get. So what they do is they harvest these caterpillars from a forest of a tree called the Mopani tree, and unfortunately we don't find that tree here. Just north of here, say about, on the reserve I used to work, called Ngala, about 30 kilometers north of here, there is the southernmost range of that tree, and from there it stretches all the way up into northern Zambia. And the Mopani worm, so we don't find them here, and I have eaten one, or I've eaten a few of them. It tastes like sort of gamey sawdust, not particularly delicious. It can be eaten fresh. I haven't brought myself to doing that yet. Where you take it off the tree, squelch the guts out, and then swallow it like that. I feel quite nauseous just talking about that. But I suspect that, Tony, you probably had a dried one, and they can be left in the sun to dry for some time, and then eaten with tomato and onion relish or some sort of salt or spice, and they'll generally assume the taste of whatever they've been cooked in. And what's important about the Mopani worm is not so much that it tastes spectacular, or that it's a delicacy, which often people think. They think it must be some form of delicacy, which it isn't. What it is a very important food source for people who don't have the means to get any other kind of protein. So we're going to get quite a nice look at the sky here. It is fading a little, unfortunately, but we'll see what we can find. Good afternoon. How are you? Are you full of joy? Yes. Hello, yes. Do you have a car full of women, bar one very lucky fellow?
It happens.
Yes.
It happens all the time.
Yes.
Have you noticed? As a
Yeah,
trend?
yes. Good luck, my man. You don't succeed here, I'd give up. Bye-bye. That was a car full of students, everybody, who've come out here, mainly from the States, to learn about the African wild. We're just going to have a stop and a listen here. I've naturally parked Andrew at an angle, so he'll have to re-bubble the camera. Isn't that lovely? Hello, Kay. Kay, I don't know the answer to your question, so I'm going to ask you to check it up. Apparently, you say that bush willow may have salicylic acid, which I think, or you say occurs in aspirin, which is the world's #1 analgesic, next to morphine, of course. So, can anyone tell me, does Combretum or bush willow have salicylic acid in it? And if it does, that'll be a brilliant explanation for why elephants try to use it to cure pain, especially from things like broken teeth. Thanks, Kay, for that. We'll find out and get back to you in a jiffy with any luck. It's a beautiful winter sunset, and you can rest assured that the lovely smell of wood smoke is no doubt permeating the villages outside, and people will be setting about their Saturday evening entertainments, which will probably consist of the odd house visit, and the kids will be playing in the street just before they go into the warm houses and huddle by the fires for the chilliness of the winter's evening, one night off the solstice. Oh, that's beautiful. Right, well, we'll drive slowly along. I'm just going to give a quick listen to what we can hear. Got some arrow-marked babblers. Franklin's ubiquitous behind us. And to the side. That's about it, really. Lots of them. What a beautiful evening. I know I say that a lot, but I really do mean it. Okay, Andrew, here we go. Say leopard, Andrew. Leopard! Right, now we're going to find a leopard. Hello, Gene in North Carolina. I think I've heard from you before, and as I've said to you before, you are now the second Gene that I know in North Carolina. You want to know if we get topi out here in South Africa, in Southern Africa, in the Kruger? No, we don't. A topi, as far as I understand it, is only found in East Africa, so probably from northern Zambia up into Kenya and perhaps Uganda. As far as I understand, that's where they're found. And if I understand them correctly, they're a relative of the hartebeest or the tsessebe. Yes, that's all I can tell you about them, really. So up in East Africa. Try and find you a picture of something semi-similar. In fact, I won't. I'll wait till we've stopped. Otherwise, I'll drive off the road and Andrew will smack me over the back of the head. So the light is just starting to fade now. And it's a very kind of, the moon is waning, at least waxing at the moment, but it's very, very much still a crescent. And so it's a great night for predators, or great time for predators. There's an owl, Andrew. Wake up, man. Sorry, I'm just going to have to move this vehicle. Do you want to try the owl?
Where's the owl?
The owl's there in that Terminalia sericea tree. Right. I'm just going to go a little bit forward because there is unfortunately a vehicle behind us. And that tiny little thing in the right-hand corner is in fact a pearl-spotted owl. And I'm going to try and call it. Just before I move the car, in case he flies away, did you see the black eye spots on the back of his head? That's kind of a trick to trick predators into thinking that he can look backwards as well as forwards. Sorry about that, Andrew. Is he still there? He is still there. Right, now we're going to try the call again and see if he responds. Then you'll believe me. Right, let's see. Come on, do it for me. There's a drongo who's also imitating him in the background. I'm going to give up on my own voice and use my little birding application, if I can. Not entirely sure how it works, to be honest, but we'll see if we can find it. Right, owl. No, this is astonishing. I might have to throw this thing in the bin. Field guide, owl. Have you still got him there, Andrew?
Yes.
So the pearl-spotted owlet. Here is the real call, and let's see if we can make him do it. So there are drongos doing this all over the place as I play this, but the owl himself is not being fooled at all. Right, well, I give up with these owls. Absolutely give up. It made me look like a complete fool any number of times. There you can see the false eyes. And domestic cats, I believe some of you are making amusing comments about these bird calls waking up domestic cats. They certainly would if they were allowed to be in this area. Nobody is actually allowed to keep a domestic cat precisely for that reason out here, because they do tend to murder quite a large proportion of the avifauna. Oh, I see. Now I've misrepresented you there. Apparently, I'm waking up your cat. I'm very sorry about that. I'm sorry I'm waking your cat up. Well, at least I spotted him, right, Andrew?
Well done, James. Well
Thank
done.
you, Andrew. I do need constant reassurance from Andrew, or I start to feel bad about myself. Hello, John boy. I'm not sure I want to answer your question. You say, how does it feel to be rejected by an owl? It feels hurtful. It feels, I feel slightly diminished as a person by it. It's not quite as bad as being rejected by the woman of your dreams, for example. But it's sort of on a scale. If that's 10 out of 10 on the scale of rejection, it sits at about 9.5. So yes, it's a very painful experience. I'm afraid there are still no leopard tracks. Nothing in our vicinity is alarm called even vaguely. Which I suppose is nice for everybody here. Have a quick look at the eastern horizon here. We're going to just pan off to the eastern horizon here, and while we do that, or as we do it, sorry Andrew, we are going to go across to Brent, who apparently has got what in Zulu is called Indlula Miti, he who passes the giraffe. See you later.
Welcome back, everyone. It looks like we've come up to the boundary between Arethusa and Djuma private game reserves now, and we can see a single female giraffe, and she's a bit far off the road at the moment and feeding, but we will try and move around to get a better view of her there. She might head out towards the open areas around Impala Plains, and as we say that, we're being stalked on our left. I'm just going to move forward a little bit by a nice group of zebras. I'm crossing the road. I think they're also probably going to try and move towards the open area around Impala Plains as it's getting dark, where they've got less chance of being snuck up on by a lion. I do find them incredibly beautiful animals. Love those stripes. And they are heading in the same direction as the giraffe. Some more about to cross the road in front of us. Oh, got a fright. High speed zebra. High speed zebra foal. High speed zebra behind us. Now that's a real zebra crossing for a cheesy joke for the evening. I hate saying that joke, but I thought it was appropriate. Let's try and move around, see if we can catch them. And the giraffe coming out into the nice big open area around Impala Plains. That is also the area I had those very fresh leopard tracks this morning, and I'm hoping as it gets a bit cooler that female leopard is going to pop out onto a road and we might have a bit of a better chance of finding her. So we're crossing back into Djuma now. Let's see if we can find that giraffe. The cloud is making it a bit darker than it is usually at this time of the day. Well, there's Impala on Impala Plains. There's the giraffe. I think if we and the zebra are not too far behind the giraffe. Hello, Geraldine. Hi, Ashley from the UK. Welcome again on this beautiful sunset safari, Ashley. Ashley, I said I did tell you a story once. It was a Rudyard Kipling tale about how the elephant got its long trunk. And do I know a story about how the giraffe got its long neck? Unfortunately, Ashley, I don't know why the giraffe got its long neck from a cultural point of view, but I know how the giraffe got its long neck from a scientific point of view. Originally, it was always thought that the main reason a giraffe evolved this incredibly long neck, I'm just gonna, and there's the impala behind it, there we go. Just go past this little bush willow. So when? Horse on the move, so I'm going to swing, yeah. So it was initially thought that giraffe got their long neck almost exclusively as a feeding adaptation, but it actually turns out that it's more to do with fighting, and the males with slightly longer necks are able to get more leverage when they swing their necks like a pendulum and create more force when they hit their opponents. So what that increased the sort of gene for long necks, so the males with the longer necks were able to breed with greater success because they were able to defeat the males with shorter necks. So most evolutionary adaptations are either for mating or for, oh, here comes the zebies, were either for mating or for food competition. So quite interesting that what looks to be the most obvious with the giraffe, which was for food competition, was actually a secondary bonus, and it was more to do with being able to mate with the females. So this looks very much like the same group of zebra we saw on Impala Plains this morning. Just looking at the demographic, quite a nice big group. Yeah, zebras with that amazing African sky behind. The young stallion closest to us. There's the little one. Hi, Rocky Fella. Rocky Fella would like to know, do all giraffes have identical patterns? Up north, they have very different patterns. Well, Rocky Fella, like a zebra, which we're looking at now, because the giraffe is meandered off, no individual will ever have the same pattern. The southern giraffe, which is the one we see around here, has a sort of distinctish pattern, where there is the others up north, the Maasai giraffe, the reticulated giraffe, the thorny crossed giraffe, have different patterns, but those are just different color variations, and there's actually almost zero genetic difference between them, and they would be able to breed. So a lot of people are called subspecies, and it's just now in these days considered to be more of just a color modification. just move the vehicle again quickly for Chandra there. Oopsie, bumpy, bumpy. How's that? Well, here we go. And we can hear a few fork-tailed drongas imitating pearl-spotted owlets in the background. And you can see that biting. Zebras are actually really, really aggressive. And this looks like a little... Those two look like two young stallions at the back. And there's the last one. Don't know if you guys heard that, but I have quite often mentioned that zebras are probably the most flatulent animal in the bush. And especially when they start running, they sort of run off with a... And that's from their digestive system, being hind gut fermenters. So, they're moving off. We're going to try and move. They're going to move into the dark now, and it is getting a little bit dark now. So, we're not going to shine a spotlight on the diurnal animals. So we're going to let them be. The zebras are moving off, the giraffes moved off, the impala moved off. Now it's time to plug in the spotlight and see if we can find some of the more interesting nocturnal animals. Negative is... There we go. Hi Ray from Las Vegas, Nevada. Ray would like to know if we ever see the giraffe-necked antelope, which I presume you're referring to a geranic in the Sabi Sands, or the Waller's antelope. Well, geranic, definitely not. The closest geranic population to the Sabi Sands would be northern Tanzania and on the Maasai steppe. And Waller's antelope, if I remember correctly, you guys might have to help me with this one, but I think that's a desert species, Waller's antelope, or Waller's gazelle. I think that might be endemic to sort of Somalia or the Sahel region. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you guys double check for me, where is a Waller's antelope from? And in the meantime, we're going to get moving. Oh, more zebras. Lots of zebras around this evening. So unfortunately we can't really put a light on them. I wonder if they're going to head off to join the other zebras. It could be interesting if there's a stallion with this group. Could be a bit of competition. Either stallion might think they might be able to gain a few females. Hi, Dennis from Massachusetts. Dennis would like to know what makes a Maasai giraffe have a bumpier skull than our giraffe. Well, Dennis, I don't think they do, and it's only the males that have that really bumpy skull, and that is a lot of scar tissue from fighting, so you get these big protrusions and whatnot on a giraffe's forehead. Oh, excuse me. So you can hear the fork-tailed drongas are going absolutely mad at the moment. You know, that last bit of hawking of insects in before it gets dark. And we also have a spotted thick-knee calling. As the zebras disappear past. That thick-knee is... Oh, there's the thick-knee. Doing all the calling. So that's a nocturnal bird species. Oh, zebras, you're going to be in the way. Sounds like it's getting upset with another one. Guys, James has found something really, really interesting. We need to go to him really quickly, and we'll be back later in the show.
Now we stand by. Hello, everybody. You've come back to us, and we've just found a serval. You can just see it. Such a spectacular little cat. It's just disappeared over the ridge there. We're going to try and go back and find it. Beautiful little. We hardly ever see them. I think you've seen them twice before. Once, actually, a few weeks ago, and with Brent. And this one has just popped out here, and we had it dead in center shot. Of course, as we came across to you, it moved, which is entirely in keeping with the general spitting upon that the universe has given us today. Now, it was in, this is interesting, it was in this hole. Andrew, I don't suppose you can get this hole, can you?
Negative. You can kind of just see what's been dug out.
Right in this hole is a huge sort of arc-bar hole that goes down underneath a termite mound. But I'm afraid the serval seems to have done a runner on us. Oh, that's typical. I'm so sorry, everyone. Beautiful little yellow and black cat with spots and stripes. Just bigger than your house cat that I seem to have woken up. Yeah, no, I'm afraid once they get a fright, they just disappear. Sorry about that. Oh well. Taller than your house cat. And Brent found his one the same day that I arrived. I was sitting in the final control when he found his. I've seen very few of those in my time. And what she was doing down that burrow, I can only imagine. I wonder if she might not be thinking about having kittens, perhaps. That would be spectacular. It'd be lovely. I'm going to come back and check this area definitely again, just to check that hole and see if we can't habituate her a bit more to the vehicle. Age 12 at Dayton Children's Hospital. Very clever question again. I'm not sure what they're feeding you at Dayton Children's Hospital, but it's clearly feeding your brains really well. You want to know, why is it that serval are only seen at night, whereas sometimes we see leopards and lions during the day? Well, Tyler, most cats are nocturnal by nature, except for cheetah. They tend to be active in the day. But the main reason for the small cats, the African wildcat, the caracal, and the serval to be active at night is so that they can avoid being seen by first of all, their prey. So things that they like to eat, can't see them so well at night. And also, they like to be not seen by things that might like to eat them. And so that's why they seem to be active at night rather than during the day. Remember that a cat's eyes can see much better than ours at night time. Mainly in black and white, so they don't see the same level of color and detail that we see, but they do see much better black and white contrast. So in case you're wondering why we didn't shine on those zebras, we don't shine on diurnal animals, which are animals active in the day, because the spotlight tends to blind them and we don't want to give them too much disadvantage at night, and we do see them during the day, so if it does affect them at all, we don't really want to have a negative effect on anything out here. We're going to go across to Brent, see what he's doing, and we'll see you just a bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. We're just sitting here quietly, just trying to see if we can hear any alarm calls. This is that area where I think that female leopard might pop out sometime this evening. So we're just checking this area very carefully, and it's very good to switch off and listen every now and then. Your ears often find your animals way more often than your eyes do. Well, combination. You got to hear them to see them. But we've been here for a few minutes. Nothing's been making a noise, so we're going to continue on. Got a question from Djuma in Oklahoma. I just thought I spotted something. I'm just going to see if I can see it again, and then I'll get to your question in a second, Djuma. You got it there? Center of my lights. So I just spotted he was a bit closer to the road, and then he took off. I'm going to try get a visual of him now. I don't want to go too much closer, he might fly again. But there's a gorgeous little bird. A little nocturnal bird there. And very distinct little giveaway he just showed us. It's the second smallest owlet species we get in this area. I wonder if you guys can tell me which one it is. And you can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live. Every time he turns his head, there's something really interesting that happens there. See how minute he is? I'm going to try sneak a little bit closer. I'm hoping he doesn't fly, but I think we got a good enough view to maybe get an ID. There we go. Unbelievably cute little guy. A voracious predator of insects. So tiny. It's hard to believe that that tiny little creature is an owl. Oh, scratch, scratch. So when IDing, if we stay a little bit closer, please, there, John. So what you need to look at from an ID point of view is look around the head. I'm just going to drop the light a little bit there. And you'll see very distinct markings on the chest and on the head. And the biggest giveaway is when he turns his head away from us, which I'm hoping he'll do again. So they're also very active at this time of the evening, calling. There we go. You see that at the back of his head, a very distinct giveaway. Come on, turn a bit more. A little bit more. He might look like he's getting ready to take off, so we'll stay with him as long as we can. He's constantly looking for possible prey. Really lucky, because he was actually right next to the road when I spotted him, and then he flew off a little bit into the bush, and I was really hoping he didn't fly too far. Little head movements, head bobbing, listening, watching. How's that look? Look at him looking at us. So MJ, Bradley and Gada all got this correct. It is a little pearl spotted owlet, as well as an incredible amount of you, but those were the first. And the giveaway with the pearl spotted owlet, apart from the little, we're a bit far at the moment, but he does have little pearl spots all over his head and the back of it, and on his chest. But the main thing, oh, there he goes, is the fake eyes on the back of his head, and that's actually a defense mechanism. So it always looks like he's watching. So he's got eyes on both the front and back. But wasn't that a really great little sighting of a pearl spotted owlet? And I know James has been trying to call them and whistle them, so really nice we can tie this in with James, that he's been giving you a whole demonstration on their calls, and we actually got to show you one of the little guys. Well, we'll let him hunt. He didn't move too far, but we've had a fantastic sighting of him. He was very kind not to fly away when we came off the road. So, back to Jimmerlin from Oklahoma. Jimmerlin has asked me a question about lion behavior, with specific to the movie Ghosts in the Darkness. For those of you who haven't watched the movie Ghosts in the Darkness, it is based, albeit very, very loosely, on a true story called The Man-Eaters of Tsavo, written by Lieutenant Colonel Patterson of, I think, the British Military Engineering Corps. So basically what happened is that the British wanted to build a railway line from the coast to Uganda and to Lake Victoria, and they brought in a lot of migrant labor from India to do this, as long as with British sort of engineers and whatnot. And this was obviously during the height of the colonial times, and they got in an area of Kenya called Tsavo, which is now where East and West Tsavo National Park is. Sorry, I think this is a good enough story. It warrants a stop. And basically, the migrant labor didn't live in very good housing. I'm caught in cables with my big feet. In very good housing. They lived in very, very loose tents and things like that. And also, what happens when you have large groups of people living in quite rough conditions, they were busy building a bridge over a river where they got stuck for quite a while, and lions started feeding regularly off the workers. And also, one of the reasons for this was the hospital tent was really open and the lions were able to come in. So Jimmerlin would like to know a little bit more about the behavior. So Jimmerlin, although the story goes there were 2 male lions that did most of the killing, and that is possible, the interesting fact about the real story is that both those male lions were actually maneless males. So that does happen from time to time, and they learned that there was such an easy prey source, and the first place they started grabbing people out was the hospital. Obviously there was blood from injuries while building a railway line, sickness. You hear something, Jandre? Have a quick look with the spotlight. Jandre thought he heard something. No, we can't see anything. So they started feeding off. Unfortunately, the movie, being a Hollywood movie, actually took it a little bit far. So obviously you had these two big, beautiful maned lions that kept corpses in a cave and all that. And all that is sort of just been added onto the story. There was a layer of probably another animal that did have skulls and bones in it, and it wasn't of the lions, I'm afraid. Lions don't really keep layers where they take. But Colonel Patterson ended up shooting both of those lions, and they're estimated to have eaten about 435 migrant laborers. Unfortunately, with the movie, which I did enjoy, it was quite entertaining. As I said, some very, very bad Hollywoodizations of certain things, like the character Remington, which I think was played by Kurt Russell, or Michael Douglas, actually didn't exist. They decided it was needed in the story to make it more entertaining. But strangely enough, in my time working as a safari guide, I've taken both the head producer and the director of that movie on safari. So we had a long chat about it, and it was very interesting to actually meet the guys who made that movie. So thanks very much for that, Jimlin. And it is a very interesting story, that Manny Sasavo. We will probably go into a bit more detail about it some other time. Unfortunately, we're running a little bit low on time so far this evening. But from Jandre and I, it's been fantastic being with you. Great time with those elephants. Really wonderful to be able to spend a huge amount of time with those animals, even though we had to sort of balance on termite mounds. And then this little pearl-spotted owlet. How amazing! And we got to see the back of his eyes and all that type of stuff. So really, really great. Got to get a nice ID on that. And also James was doing the calls. So finally, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be able to take your questions and share our passion with about the African bush with you guys. So wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful wonderful safari. Sorry, let me just, there we go. Have a wonderful evening or morning wherever you might be, and we will hopefully see you all for the sunrise safari. Really excited to get out there again, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Hello everybody, I bring you news of what we found since we last saw you. Nothing at all. Just trees, sky, wind, dust, and in fact about 47 duiker. The greatest number of duiker I've ever seen in my life. Of course, we're unable to watch them at night time. And they all ran away anyway, so even if we had got anywhere near to showing them to you, you wouldn't have seen them. Just a little anecdote about South Africanisms. Apparently there's been some discussion on the Twitterverse about the terms that South Africans use, and I've definitely come across this when I've spoken with people from overseas. When we say just now, unlike in Britain, that doesn't mean right now, immediately. We mean, well, you know, soonish. Now means immediately. But just now in some parts of the world in some parts of the country can actually mean, well, perhaps I'll do it a bit later, perhaps I just won't do it at all. And if we say we'll do it now, it means, yeah, in a little while. So now means immediately, just now means a little bit later, not too urgent. It's been a quiet morning, a quiet afternoon as well, and I must apologize once again for the technical glitches that we've had. They're beyond the scope of my intellect. Andrew's equally confused, but we thank you for bearing with us, and we thank you for generating the amount of conversation that you have despite the technical issues. I apologize for my performance in front of the Djuma camera today. I guess somebody had to do something, and as the junior presenter, I suppose it fell on me to make a fool of myself in front of all of you. who happened to see it. So thank you for watching that. I also need to do my normal thanks. Thank you to Tara and I think Vium and Eugene are in the control room today. Andrew on camera, Brent and Jean-Bray on the other camera. They had a good time with some elephants today, and mostly thanks to the brilliantly intelligent questions that came out of the Dayton Children's Hospital there in Ohio. Thank you for your questions. You were brilliant as normal. So as we go into tomorrow, well, we're not quite yet. We will be going into tomorrow fairly soon. Tomorrow is the winter solstice, and please remember the fireside chat that we're going to be having at the during the course of the winter solstice tomorrow. So tomorrow is our longest night and your longest day, most of you in the northern hemisphere, and we will see you around then. And we're also going to show our cheetah clip at the fireside chat for those of you who missed it. Sorry for you. We also missed it, so I'm looking forward to seeing that too. I'm just going to get Andrew to pan away from my ugly mug so you don't have to see it in the glare of the light, and just look over what used to be called Greater Gazankulu to the lights of the Machangane people. Remember the Shangaan phrase, Swihari Inkwaso Swinwamati. We will see you tomorrow.